Well,
Hello.
hi Mary, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Oh, well,
Uh-oh.
I'll know more tomorrow. I've got a doctor's appointment in the
Oh,
morning,
okay.
so we'll see what he has to say about it all.
Is this going to be the first time with new doctors there?
Yeah, yeah, and unfortunately, I'm going in with an issue,
Okay.
so, so we'll see. I'll find out real quick how good they are.
Yeah. It's going to be, everything's going to be just great. You just celebrated your birthday week. So,
Right, right, right.
what kind of stuff did you get into this week?
Oh, gee. Well, I changed out my bed. Turns out my bedroom is so tiny that a full size bed, you can't walk around it at all. It's wall to wall and corner to corner. So my brother came up with a twin bed. we made that transition.
Oh,
So
good.
I just won't be able to flip around as easily as I'm used to. Jimmy P, hello. Jimmy P,
Jimmy,
nice to see you. Whips World, Fanatically. Who else is here? Fish
see,
Central, Fanatical. That's it.
Benoski.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see Jimmy here. We didn't do the two peas in the pod today. Jimmy's got some stuff. He's on a mission with some projects at home, and he's just got to
Oh,
take a little break. Yeah, so he
Fish and
hasn't gone anywhere, y'all.
nice to see you, Fish Central. And Sue Ann is here. She was the first one who signed in, and she got lopped off. My
Oh no.
yeah, you see all those dots at the top. My
Uh
computer is acting up.
oh.
After a certain amount of time, it just starts in whatever text format I have open. It just starts texting, and then it won't open a video unless it's in the middle of the video, and then it doesn't open it. So I wind up having to shut it down and reboot it, and that clears it up for a while. See, who was
Jimmy,
that?
we got the Nano Aquarium guy, Scuba Steve,
Scuba Steve. Hello.
Whips World, Benoski, if we said hey Benoski. And
Hey,
Jimmy, do you see me? I'm pressing buttons here. I'm trying to learn Jimmy. Jimmy's been saying he's gonna teach me too. Somehow I got on here today. Hey Bunny Viper.
yeah, you did good.
So
Today
I'm
is the
just
15th, right?
there is Bunny Viper. See, look there. Oh, Viper.
Yeah,
And
you did good.
hey Stephen. Small steps, people. I'm learning small steps.
Oh, well, Bunny Viper, hello, hello. Oh, anybody new? Nobody new.
Don't
Scuba
see any new ones yet.
Stevo. Hello, Scuba Stevo. Nice to see
Good to
you,
see
bud.
you.
Yeah, got a good crowd in here. Scott
Yes.
Kovich. Hey, Scott.
Scott and Wendy.
When is Scott going to? He's going to Germany, I think. Going to Europe
Oh
on
yeah.
assignment.
I
I
think he
thought it
was
would have.
telling us that.
Yeah, coming up, I guess.
Stephen and all the P family, hello. About 15 days, he says.
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Oh,
Samuel
and
Schultz. Well, yeah, I guess I'm settling in. I guess. I don't know what I'm doing, frankly. I still don't have my shed unpacked. I've got probably 5 or 6 more boxes of books out there I need to bring in, and then I need to reorganize it to set it up as a workstation. I want to do some fish out there and some, at least make a potting shed out of it.
oh,
Geez,
yep,
baby red dragon flower horn. Diet
yes.
suggestions. Wow. Fish, shrimp. Buy buy some fish or shrimp from the supermarket. Freeze it and then scrape it and feed him the scrapings. It's about the best food you can feed. Henry Hall used to say, the best food for fish is fish.
Right,
Take that for what it's worth.
right. Well, just look what happens if you lose a fish in an aquarium full of fish. What do?
Really, it doesn't last long, does it?
No. There's Yellowstone. Hello, Yellowstone. Okay, I'm going crazy here. See there? Give me just an inch and see what happens.
Yellowstone Aquatics. So I'm trying to get a new video out. I've dug a little deeper in the deep substrate, if you will, and discovered some things about bacteria and fungus and the importance of their activity in creating a tank that allows plants to grow successfully. And so much so that the plant will then begin actually feeding the soil. So I'll try to get this together. I talked about it a little bit last night with AJ, but I really need to do a video on it. It's it makes the case as to the importance of a living aquarium. And my working title is your aquarium dead or alive?
Mhm.
Because it's really significant. So many people are convinced their aquarium should be dead, and by dead they mean sterile.
Daryl.
And that's what sterile is. Sterile is dead. Sterile does not allow any life to go on it. So if you've got a sterile tank and you want fish to live in it, you're fooling yourself. They can't. It's a sterile environment. It's an environment that is not friendly to life. It is very unfriendly to life, and that, of course, includes your fish. Fish will not live in a sterile environment, not for very long. They require being surrounded by life, as does all life. Life requires a living environment in order to survive. Life cannot survive in a dead or an inert or a non-living environment, and your aquarium is very much a part of that system. So any shop owner who's telling you you need to sterilize everything doesn't really understand anything about how to keep an aquarium alive and healthy. And so they should be ignored. In point of fact, they need to be brought up sharply for their ignorance and
They need to be schooled.
their lack of understanding of the nature of life, and particularly of fish. Fish are not objects, they're living organisms, and they require a certain kind of environment that really is extremely simple environment to establish and maintain. There really is nothing easier. It's more difficult to try to maintain a sterile environment than to try to maintain a healthy environment. There are only a few basic things you need to do. And that's part of what this new video gets into is what those things are and how the tank, if you provide the basics, how that system will nurture them and bring them to a place where they will be usable. So we'll try to get that done in the next day or two. It's really I think it's really critical, and I think it's going to help a lot of people understand why they need to do the kinds of things we've been talking about in terms of adding supplements, for example. Supplements are an absolute key to plants being able to do photosynthesis, that is, to grow. Without photosynthesis, a plant cannot grow. And it requires certain things in a certain form in order to be able to make that work. But the aquarium, while it doesn't create the elements, it creates the form of the elements. So once you're set up, all you really need to do is watch it happen.
Right.
Grab the
Just like
scale, clean, clean, clean. Yeah, the bunny
yeah,
viper, clean, clean,
I
clean.
I
Yeah,
remember that, like dreading. It's like I'd look at my aquarium, it'd have a little algae on it or whatever, and the gravel would have the fruity pebble gravel would have algae on it. We'd take it all out, scrub it, put it back, and then half the time your fish would die. But what I would think the problem was is I let it go too long without cleaning it, and then my fish didn't like the clean aquarium. But that's not what it was at all.
right, right. Yeah, the whole notion of cleaning an aquarium is so counterintuitive to what we need to be doing. We should never clean an aquarium. An aquarium should never be clean. It should always be, it's like the filter. If you have a filter cartridge and you're hang on the back filter, the question comes up all the time, how often should I change the cartridge?
Yeah,
And my answer is no more than once every 6 months. Leave it for at least 6 months because the dirtier it gets, the better it works. Think about that. The dirtier it gets, the better it
yeah,
works. Now that is certainly counter to the advice given by the manufacturer who want you to be changing that cartridge once a week, once a day if necessary, but certainly don't leave it in there more than a week or a month. My God,
yeah.
if you leave it a month, who knows what'll happen? Well, what'll
Right.
happen is it'll begin to work. It'll begin to house the kind of microscopic life that allows the tank to thrive. That's really the great benefit of the hang on the back filter with its various media.
Hmm.
They're able to create and sustain a culture of life in a contained environment that provides tremendous benefits to the tank. But if you keep cleaning it out, keep changing it, you keep short circuiting the process. So, how often do you change the cartridge? I used to say never, but I gave that up uh, because after a while, it starts growing. It
Well, we were
starts
talking about,
growing new plants.
weren't we talking about the other day, talking about the carbon that's in them, that after a while it'll hold all it can, and then one day it may just release all that junk back into your tank
Well,
when
it's
it gets
true.
old?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just remember you talking about that the other day.
Yeah, any of the media will do that,
Yeah.
particularly carbon or yeah, any of the other media that absorb. Um, they absorb up to the point of their maximum absorptivity, absorptivity, and then they begin to release everything. So there's they have no particular real value. If you have chemicals in your water that you want to get out, you can put charcoal in there or carbon. Take it out within no more than a week and replace it. Do that 2 or 3 times, leaving it no more than a week. You'll actually stand a pretty good chance of being able to get most of what it is you were trying to get out. Won't get it all, but it'll maybe get enough to reduce the toxicity. And that's the other thing to remember. Any kind of chemical that you add to your water, including liquid fertilizer, are all toxins. They are toxins. They are poisons. Their function, their purpose is to poison certain aspects of the living organisms that are in your tank. Algicide is a perfect example. The last thing in this world that you should put in an aquarium is algicide. And yet it's the first go-to chemical when you see a little spot of algae. What the algicide does is it first attacks all plants, not just the algae. It attacks all plants and prevents them from growing. It then begins attacking the fish, preventing the fish from growing, preventing their food from being able to be effective. So it not only kills plants, it kills fish. It kills all the microscopic life. Algicide it's like Roundup. That's basically what Roundup is. Roundup is a way of getting rid of weeds. Well, what it also does is it bonds magnesium as its means by which it gets rid of weeds, making the magnesium inaccessible to the weeds. But in the process, it becomes inaccessible to every other plant as well. And no amount of continuing to dose with magnesium seems to make any difference because it changes the molecular structure of the magnesium, making it incapable of being taken up by the plants. Now, that's the role of bacteria and of fungus. Bacteria assimilates into their individual little bodies. It assimilates minerals, elements, and it converts them to a biological form such that when they're released by the bacteria, plants are able to take them up and use them. Magnesium is a perfect example. Magnesium, typically when we put it in the tank, or iron for that matter, when we put it in the tank, it's not accessible to plants because it's combined with other kinds of things that block it from being able to be taken up by the plants. It is the bacteria and then the fungus that break down those relationships, that break down those compounds and release the elements in a format that makes it possible for plants to take them up, and not just plants, but microfauna and microflora as well. So, you need bacteria in your tank. Now, there's a thought. How often have we put an an antibacterial agent in their aquarium? Well, whenever we think the fish are being infected by something, we dump back the antibacterial but, chemicals in there. What does that do? It it breaks down and it destroys bacteria culture. What does that do? That allows for waste to build up to the point where it becomes toxic. There's nothing breaking down the waste. The role of bacteria is to break down waste and also to change the molecular structure of the elements to make them accessible to plants. So much of what we are taught to do by the local shop that's simply looking to make a sale based on some manufacturer's notion of what will sell, not what is beneficial, not what is helpful, not what is supportive of a living environment, but of what will sell, of what can be turned into money simply and easily at virtually no cost with an exceedingly, extremely high return. Let me give you an example. There's so many. How about methylene blue? Methylene blue. Methylene blue in its natural state is it's a solid converted into a powder and diluted into uh, RO water, pure filtered water. The amount of material that is used to create that 2% solution of methylene blue that you buy in the store cost substantially less than a penny. The chemicals that go into manufacturing methylene blue and putting it in those little bottles has no effective cost. It is, for all intents and purposes, free. It's put in a bottle that may cost the manufacturer 10 to 15 cents. It's put in a package that costs another nickel to a dime. So for 20 cents, this little bottle of water and a few grains of methylene blue are sold to a local shop and put on the shelf for an average of $10. How much of that is profit? To the local shop, about $7 profit. They pay about $3. To the manufacturer, $2.50 tops. And they sell them by the gross, by 140 at a time. So it's a good example of how manufacturers find ways to create products that have no actual cost to them, that they can generate substantial income with by convincing the buyer that this is something that's critical, and it's critical because it is going to kill something. Its purpose is to kill something. Its purpose is not to create life, it's to create death, with the belief that by killing certain things, other things will be able to thrive. The reality, of course, is just the opposite. Once you create a killing field, that killing field does not stop with a given species or a given type of bacteria or plant or whatever. It continues to pervade that environment until it has killed everything. We take precisely the wrong approach to maintaining tropical fish when we assume that the way to keep them healthy is to kill whatever makes them unhealthy. Except that what makes them unhealthy is the very act of killing. It's a principle of life that life does not survive in an environment that is predicated upon its death and destruction. So stop killing your fish. Stop poisoning your tanks. Stop adding all manner of evil and toxins into your tank in the foolish belief that it's going to make anything better. It will not. End of lecture.
That was a good one. That was a good one. Oh my goodness.
Who's this? The Nano Aquarium guy.
Yes. Silver
Well,
Creek came in. Let's see. And new local Austin. There's Silver Creek. There's Gina's Reef. Hey, Gina.
Oh, right. Hi, Gina. David Samsel.
Hey, David. Haven't seen him in a while.
David Samsel. Nice to see you, David. I haven't had to add any medications or anything in my tank so far, though I have a lot of times the water changes happen as needed.
Yeah.
Well, that's good, so long as they're happening as needed.
It's just like you talked about all the microorganisms living in the tanks. I've been sitting here watching this tank with my little guppies, just watching them pick through the muck and the mold. And, that used to would give me a heart attack to see all that stuff in there. But watching them in it is just, it's so cool to watch them. They're grazing. They're just swimming around, just picking all through it and just enjoying it. Same with the shrimp.
Yeah, and finding so much living matter. So much.
Oh, yeah.
This is the way animals are in the wild. And we want more than anything to create an environment where our little critters are going to be comfortable. And the environment they're going to be most comfortable in is the one that is closest to duplicating their natural home. Their natural home is not a prison. Their tanks can be a prison. We want to prevent that from being the case by giving them the kind of environment that they can genuinely thrive in.
And I was talking about botanicals. I mean, that's a natural antibacterial agent, but it doesn't destroy bad bacteria. It actually, as it breaks down, it creates more good bacteria, right? The tannins and the leaves and all that stuff.
Right. When you talk about bacteria, what are we really talking about? In a cup full of mud from a creek or a pond, there are, guess how many species, different types of bacteria in
Million?
that
No, I don't know. But there's a lot. 1,000.
1,000 different species. Now, why are there 1,000 different species? They're all doing something, but they also are all preventing everybody else from. It's like, here's a good example. You ever seen a basket of crabs? Very few people have seen a basket of crabs. I grew up on the Chesapeake Bay catching crabs. And we would throw them in a basket and never put a lid on the basket. Now, Why in the world would we not put a lid on the basket? Well, it's really quite simple. After the first crab goes in, it's very happy looking around, not having any trouble at all. Then the second crab goes in, and suddenly there's a brawl. And one of them's trying to get out to escape the fight, and the other one's grabbing him and pulling him back in.
Yeah.
And with the third one, and fourth, and fifth, and so forth, you can wind up with a bucket full of crabs, and none of them will be able to get out because they'll all be pulling the top guy back down in. Bacteria are that way. They prevent the substantial environment of bacteria, prevent any one type of bacteria from gaining the kind of foothold that will overcome everything else.
Yeah.
There's always a bigger crab in the bucket in the basket. There always is another kind of bacteria that's going to hold this one down. And so they're all busy doing their little thing. And they all do different things. But they also are controlling the populations
Yeah.
so that nobody gains dominance. Now, that is precisely what happens in a sterile environment. One bacteria will sneak in there. There will be no competition. They will take over and decimate everything. That's why fish die of bacteria infection, because the tank is far too sterile and it has allowed a monoculture, a single kind of bacteria, to get in there and to dominate, to take over, and to destroy everything. It's the last thing in the world you want is a sterile aquarium. It guarantees your fish are going to die. Absolutely guarantees it. You cannot maintain sterility indefinitely. Cannot be done. Craig Doniger. Hey, Craig. Good to see you.
So lots of dirt, rock, wood, and plants. That's right. Silver Creek. I can still remember setting up aquariums and never thinking like I would be putting leaves and dirt and, wanting algae in there. And
Right.
you set it up and guess what? You don't have to do hardly anything. I mean, it just amazes me.
I know. I know. It's
Bananas.
amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
Look at this. They're funny. They banned
I
hooks for
see
crab
that.
lines here. Yeah.
Bushels of Jimmy's, right? Or soot.
Yes.
Now, soot, a suit term. That's a Virginia term. They don't use that word in Maryland. A suit, a suit.
What
It's
is
not a
that?
suit. I, I'm not sure. So, like, who said this? Scott,
I
explain
think
what
Scott.
said it. Is it? It's either a crab that's ready to shed, or it's a female, and I think it's a crab that's ready to shed. That is what we call a heavy crab, a crab that's solid with meat. I'll never, if I look it up, I won't find it because
Right.
it's
I
not
was trying.
it's not going to be there.
Oh gosh, I
That's a
haven't been dropping
heavy
any
crab.
links either. Yes, yes, soot is coal dust here. Oh, he says soot is a female with egg.
Oh, with
A
eggs.
female
Okay,
crab?
great.
Okay.
Yep, yep, yep. Let's see. I've got.
There's Kenny. Hey, Kenny Daniken.
Let's see if I got a. I'm looking. I'm not finding a picture of one. It's got
Yes,
lots
that's
of
what we.
pictures of crabs, but let's see. Let me do this.
Oh, I didn't
Crab
hit the
with
like button.
eggs.
I hope y'all hit the like button. Fanatical says, sorry, I'm in one of those moods today. That's okay. We love it.
Well,
I'm
here's
usually a little more witty, but I've been out all day long looking at a covered wagon for horses.
oh, really? Oh, how neat.
Yeah, a man built it, but he never put the wheelbase on it. But it's like the top part, and it's like a camper, pulled by horses. It's really neat, and he's going to give it to me, and
Oh, cool.
I
So you
just
got
don't know
to
where
do
I'm going to put it. It's really solid too.
It's
It looks like a
in the right
gypsy.
direction, isn't it? Here are
It looks
pictures
like
of
a
crabs. Here's some
okay.
pictures of crabs with eggs. And they're all different, but there are a lot of different kinds of crabs. But you can see the egg mass. It's held in place by the apron, which is this uh,
So they
shell
is that
on
like a
the bottom of the crab.
is
Is a
that like a bunch of eggs like a shrimp would have up under its tail?
yeah, exactly. It's exactly
Okay.
that's the idea. Except there were probably millions.
Yeah. Hello, Snake. David Samsel. Look at you. Thank you. Got you a super chat. Thank you
Thank you,
so
David.
much.
Oh, David, thank you so much for the $10 super chat and for the kind words. Certainly do appreciate it.
Absolutely. That's one thing. He's always here for us too, no matter what.
Nice. Thank you, David. Let's
Oh,
see. We get back
trying to
over.
see if there was any more questions. I don't think there is.
Fanatical got overexcited. Oh, he
Yeah.
put a bunch of zeros in. A soot. Yeah, that's right. It's a female with eggs.
Learned a new word
They're
today. No, I
illegal.
didn't know that.
Yeah, it's illegal to keep them in Maryland, but not in Virginia. Which,
Really?
yeah, which is curious because they go down to Virginia to spawn. So it's really the source of crabs with eggs. Then when the eggs hatch in ocean water, the microscopic babies are not crabs yet. They're just floating on the surface, and they come up with the tide up into the bay, into more and more and more fresh water. Of course, this happens all over the coast, not just in Chesapeake Bay. It happens from New York all the way around into Mexico through the Gulf. But those babies go into more and more fresh water, into brackish water, where they're, they look like a shrimp, and then that tail curves under, and they drop to the bottom and start swimming around like a crab. At that point, they're not quite an inch, little maybe 3/8 of an inch, or no, 6/8, 3/4 of an inch. And that's the point where they actually become what looks like a crab. And then they stay in that water because it has the most nutrients. Their primary food is plants. So if you ever want to put crabs in your tank, be aware that if you have plants in your tank, they're going to be worse than plant eating snails. They will eat them all up. That's really their primary food source. Now, crabs are what's the word that eats everything. They will eat everything, but their
Not
primary
not
pardon
omnivorous. No, herbivores. Carnivorous. I
omnivorous
can't.
is what
Omnivorous. Okay, there. I got it. My
their
dogs are going
primary
crazy.
food though is uh, is is macroalgae and plants that are thriving in brackish water, in bays and inlets. They go up into fresh water. I was catching blue crabs in fresh water in Florida.
Okay, you see the question from Snake about how
How
much
much
leaf litter?
so
Be right back.
yeah, put it in gradually, Snake. Don't put it in. Don't put a massive amount in right away because it could foul the water. Put a handful in. The 75-gallon tank. Put a couple of handsful in, and then in a week put some more in. You'll notice it will break down because the animal life that's in it is going to break it down. So it's something you need to be continuing to add essentially forever. You never want to stop adding leaf litter because it gets used up. It's food, it's nutrition, but it's nutrition for bacteria, for fungus, for microfauna, and microflora. So but after a given period of time, you need to add more. Now, here's the issue: if you put too much in all at once, it'll overwhelm the ability of the life that's in there to assimilate it. So you don't want to go crazy right away. Put a handful in, and then a week later put another handful in, and you'll be able to increase that really in pretty short order. You should have virtually the entire bottom with an inch of leaf litter in it at its optimal level. You don't need that right away. You don't need that ever, truthfully. Um, if you want a, an aquarium that's going to be prolific for breeding small fish, you do want it that deep because it'll provide a media for the eggs to hide in, for the babies to find food because they have to be eating constantly, and for them as well to be safe from predation.
Well,
Um,
you've got. Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say you've got me on these botanicals. That's all I've been wanting to learn about lately.
really, EJ has done a remarkable job with this. She's got a couple of tanks set up with with a very deep botanicals, humic material, and she has bred so far actually three species of animals if you include the shrimp. But she's bred scarlet batis and um, pygmy sunfish, the Elocema evergladi, naturally in that environment. And it's provided not just a place for the fish to nest and release their eggs, but an environment in which the babies, these brand new, minuscule, tiny, microscopic babies, are able to get food very quickly and easily and begin growing. So it's a natural environment that is enormously effective. She wants to try some other fish, little tiny fish. We'll see how that goes. I'm trying to locate some for her.
Congratulations, Scott. Scott says they got Acaras. Yay! Fanatical says, do the leaves increase the nitrates?
Baby Acaris. The leaves increase nitrates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, it's
And
organic, so.
nitrates are really key to plants being able to thrive. Without a strong nitrate um, availability, plants will not be able to grow. So the higher the nitrate level, the better it is for plant growth.
Yeah, I've used them. I just got me some of these lotus pods. I've never used it. I've been trying to waterlog it so it'll sink. But I just think they're so cool, especially for the shrimp. I want to see little shrimp hotels. It's dripping everywhere.
Oh,
These are
that what
cool.
is that?
A
Oh,
lotus pod.
lotus
Oh,
pod. Yeah,
that's full of water, as you see.
yeah, they're
It's
neat.
got it's got all kind of little nooks and crannies.
Did
But
you
the
get
shrimp,
any with the seeds in them?
no, they didn't have the seeds in them. It just came just like this. I got it off of Amazon. I got some at the Triple Crown that were a little smaller. I think I got them from the Garden of Eden from Grant. And I guess I left them when I went to the hospital. So
Oh, he
I,
should have. They should
Kevin
have.
may have.
Yeah, he's breeding them. They should have seeds. You want to get some with seeds because you can plant the seeds and grow the
Okay.
plant.
I know I used to use those in like potpourri, like little baskets of
Oh
potpourri
yeah,
you'd sit around the
absolutely.
house.
Yep. Yeah, they have a nice odor.
Oh, yes, they do, Snake. I've
Yep,
got the alder cones, or however you say it,
alder,
and then the catawba leaves.
alder cones.
Let's
Yep.
see. I know Alex has done some cool stuff about like jackfruit leaves, and
Right.
there's some kind of banana something. It's not banana peels, but is it a banana leaf? Can't remember. But there's so many different botanicals out there.
You
It's really,
bet.
but I like these pods. All these pods are cool. There's different kind of pods, nutshells and different things.
Right.
Sorry, I just had somebody come in again. That's why I'm making sure the
Yeah.
dogs aren't going crazy. I haven't dropped any links for you today. Let's see here.
Yeah, well, that's good, fanaticals. You, it's if you can achieve a stable pH, it
Thanks,
makes
Greg.
it makes everything else work better. And the best way to do that is with a carbonate and nitrate level that are high enough to simply be able to sustain. You can call it rock water if you want, and it sort of is. But it's a great way to be able to sustain everything because it provides an excess of, of elemental nutrients that the bacteria are able to break down and provide to plants. Bacteria and fungus. So I shouldn't leave the fungus out. The fungus do a different function though. Bacteria break down the compounds. Fungus actually reduce the material to humic, to, to humus. What's left when the fungus is finished with it, and that's mostly fatty kinds of materials that bacteria are incapable of breaking down. The fungus just work on it until there's absolutely nothing left except the humic material, which then becomes food for microfauna. Never thought of fungus in the aquarium. I know, and yet it's critical.
Right,
It's one of those little gifts that just keeps giving
right.
without even knowing it's there.
I remember you and Thomas working on that old Blackwater tank, and he wanted to plant all the mushrooms and different fungus in there
I
before
know.
you closed up
Yeah,
the shop. That was pretty wild.
yeah,
Um,
that was
Snake, let's see, there's Snake's question. What about an ideal temp for breeding the Tetra tank? Also, add some cool water or anything to stimulate more breeding. What kind of tetras first? Does it matter, or are all tetras kind of?
tetras you can maintain a little cooler. My
Yeah.
belief is that the ultimate temperature for breeding virtually any fish is 82 degrees. Um, and the reason for that is because it's somewhere between 85 and 78. At 85, the eggs are affected by the temperature in such a way as to change the sex of the fish. And the same is true at 78. So if you hit that sweet spot at about 82, and it can get down to 80, if you can keep it right there, then you'll wind up with a good balance of male and female. And it also will be it'll be a stable enough environment that the fish are going to be, the baby fish will be able to thrive in it, because it'll generate the microscopic life that they need in order to be able to survive at the very beginning. So that's the other consideration. You want the water warm enough that it's going to generate a very high level of paramecium, for example, or rotifer culture, things that are absolutely fundamental to babies being able to survive. Look at that kitty.
See him? He is a. I think I told y'all this last week, but he's called a polydactyl, which means he has extra toes.
6
See his,
toes.
so his
Yeah.
name is Fonzie. Remember the Fonz that you say "a" with his thumbs? Since he's got big thumbs, I named him Fonzie. See how
That's
big
funny.
his feet are?
Isn't it
They're
cute?
bigger than him. Look
He
at that.
looks like Tom.
Yes, Tom with
Yeah.
big feet. His feet are
With
bigger than he are. They look like little monkey hands.
they are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 toes.
Yeah,
That's funny.
we were talking about different ones. Mulberry leaves, Craig said. Is it guava? It's more
Yeah, mulberry
botanicals.
leaves are wonderful. Um, Temperature variation works for Cory cats. It
Right, I was getting ready to ask that.
doesn't always work for tetras.
Is it just like they talk about, like the cool rains come down that you like
No,
introduce some cool water in there?
It's a spring phenomenon,
Okay,
which in the southern hemisphere is our fall phenomenon, in which
yeah,
the mountain snows are melting and sending huge runs of water down the mountain, which is cold. So that cold water hits the creeks and rivers, drops the temperature,
yeah,
and triggers spawning. Now, part of the reason it triggers spawning is because the eggs are attached to floating leaves, typically, that are being washed down river, and they go far down below where the parents are into more still water, where there is warmer, where the water is warmer, and where the population of microfauna is exploding early in the spring. There's been a huge buildup of nutrients, and now the water is reaching the temperature where where the microfauna are able to just explode. And that's just the time those those baby cories are hatching out and hitting that patch of water, and are able to find food. So it's kind of a process that doesn't occur with tetras. Tetras are creek and stream animals fundamentally that are living in still water, or relatively still water, that changes but very slowly. And so they spawn pretty much all the time. It's not really a function of temperature as much as it is a function of nutrients. If they get enough food, they're going to spawn. And for as long as the food is there, they're going to continue spawning. There are tetras that spawn every single day for months. They never stop laying eggs. And the males never stop fertilizing the eggs. Month after month after month, they go on until the nutrition level drops to a point where they're not engorged by their food anymore.
Okay. A lot of seasonal, as the seasons change too.
Yeah, that's right. But it's not
Oh, this cat
necessarily
being
it's not temperature so much.
being attacked.
That's funny. Fanatical. Talking about a giant nut that he
I think my
thinks is
internet just
alive.
crapped out. Am I still here?
Yeah, Craig says feel free. Anything and
My
anywhere but
internet's acting up again. Hold on. Let's see.
yeah, we're losing our video. We got your audio.
Okay, my box.
I think you're back.
Go down. Get down.
All right,
Now,
Mary, we're at 7 o'clock.
Uh-oh. I'm losing y'all. I can't hear Father Fish. So sorry.
We have run the gamut. You can't hear me. She can't hear me. We've run the gamut. I can hear her. There she goes. Mary is gone. All right, guys. Guess I'm going to take off as well. Pray for me in the morning. I have a doctor's appointment, and I've had some internal bleeding for the last this weekend that I'm concerned about. So I'm hoping it's gonna get resolved tomorrow when I see the doctor.
I sure hope so. Please keep us updated. What time do you go in the morning?
9:30.
Okay.
First thing in the morning.
Well, I
All
hope
right,
you like
guys.
the new doctor too.
Well, I hope so. We'll see. Love you all. Thanks so much
Love y'all.
for coming in and being a part of us. We'll be back Wednesday morning with Mary Paige, and then
Early.
Saturday, yeah, at 9 o'clock in the morning, my time, 8 her time,
Right.
uh, and then Saturday, 8 o'clock my time, 7 o'clock Texas time. That's Saturday evening next week. Take care. Love you all. Bye.
Love you guys.
Bye bye.